Hello, this video will make you immune to gaslighting. It's a hypnosis video. It will have hypnotic effects. You will be affected by it. It will change the state of your brain so that the people who are connecting to you telepathically with malicious intent, the people who you know are bullying you, will be unable to connect. They will become disconnected from you. And you see, a lot of you guys, you need validation for what is being done to you, is being done in the present tense. You seek that out in people that you trust, and every time it comes back as this, actually, maybe you're the problem type of energy. And there's a reason for that. When you connect to these malicious people who are bullying you, who are gaslighting you, and from that state of being connected to them, you seek validation for what you're experiencing. Even the seeking validation in itself is proof that you are still connected to the dominators. I call them dominators. These are the ones who are gaslighting you. And in this state, you seek validation, but being connected to them as you talk to your friends and confidants in this state of being connected to the dominators, you infect your friends with the dominator who is gaslighting you. And even your friend will start to mirror the state of the dominator's mind, which is to deflect all blame off of the dominator onto you. That is why you can't tell people about any abuse or bullying you've suffered. And the way that they speak, you'll go back through texts that they sent you. You'll replay conversations in your mind and you'll get confused. And this confusion is necessary to put you in the suggestible state so that these images that you mirror when you connect to them are even stronger and affect you more. They put you in a suggestible state and then they implant you with self-harming, self-destructive suggestions. That's why the more you deal with the dominator, the more you feel like everything you do is wrong, everything you say is wrong, your entire existence is wrong. They'll make a rule. They'll say, for example, I was talking to a client who was dealing with a very bullying boss, and the boss was complaining about her work, and she showed me the text, and the boss was saying, the other workers say that you're on your phone all the time, you don't know what you're doing, you don't ask questions, you don't show up on time. But at the same time, she'll show texts where she is asking questions, but the answers that she's being given are just very confusing. It doesn't make sense. And the boss is getting mad at her when she asks questions. And then she's blaming her for not knowing stuff, saying, you don't ask questions enough. And when I first looked at these texts, my mind connected with the dominator who is casting these dark hypnotic spells, the gaslighter here, right? And since she is doing this powerful magic and the victim is in this confused state and not actively trying to protect against it, I immediately thought that my client was the one who was wrong. Oh, she's probably just being lazy, being rude, being a bad worker, and she can't see things reasonably and she's getting too emotional over the situation. As soon as I connected to the dominator's mind by reading those texts, I downloaded, I mirrored what she is trying to put out, right? And so that's why it's very hard for anyone else to understand you. If you try to go to even your best friend, they are not going to validate you. Some of them will validate you with words, especially women don't like to, you know, not to pick on women, but we are more agreeable and say, oh, yes, But people can read between the lines. There is this astral plane where people connect and read each other's minds to some extent. People talk about frequency, energy in these spiritual um, places, and it's just emotions. And when the person you're talking to says, "Oh no, I think you're right," she's the bad one here, but they're feeling different. That again is just reinforcing this dark hypnotic spell that you are worthless. It's a self destructive, all the self destructive suggestions you can think of. You're a burden to everyone around you. I mean, anything that you would think that a suicidal person is thinking before they, you know, you're a burden to everyone else. You can't do anything right. Um, Nobody loves you, that sort of thing, blah, blah, blah. You're downloading all of this as you're getting gaslit, and the rules are always changing. As soon as you accomplish what the dominator wants you to do, they're going to punish you for that. And for example, I knew someone who had a small child, and she went to live with her mother for a while, and her mother was very insistent that this 1 year old goes to sleep at exactly 8 o'clock every night. She has to do this sleep training, and as soon as the 1 year old was consistently sleeping at 8 o'clock, which is something that the mother was bullying her daughter over every single day, um, as soon as that child finally was sleep trained and fell into that schedule, the mother invited her son over, so the girl's brother, to watch movies with them, to enjoy whatever, some family time. And they put on horror movies, which the kid couldn't watch anyway. And time rolled around 8 o'clock. The daughter put her baby son, to sleep in the room. And shortly after the movie finished, the brother goes home, and then the mother starts screaming so loud that the baby wakes up, screaming about, why did you put him to bed so early? And the daughter says, because you told me that you want him consistently to sleep at 8 o'clock. And she says, you're just being this and that, all these kinds of slurs, insults. Basically, the mother was accusing the daughter of maliciously putting the child to bed at 8 o'clock because she should have known that today was an exception. And yeah, that's just how it works with these people. And there is, everything you do is wrong, and nobody will believe you, even if I'm explaining the situation now. But that daughter, in the moment it was happening to her, she actually got in a big fight with the mother, and the brother came back over, and he's like, I don't know which one of you is telling the truth. And eventually he did side with the mother. Um, but the thing is, people, even well intentioned people, are going to 9 times out of 10 at least side with the gaslighter in these situations. And it is just more isolation. But in this video, I have already begun the hypnosis. See, hypnosis is really not what it seems to be. You read these texts from your crazy boss that, people can't put the puzzle pieces together and they think this is just any kind of normal conflict, and yet you cannot get it out of your mind. You're obsessed with it. It's making you feel so bad and you have no idea why. That is hypnosis. And what I'm saying right now is hypnosis. And that sneeze of my neighbor was confirmation that what I'm saying is key here. And you wonder, why do these people even exist? It's hard for people to fathom that someone would be so meticulously sadistic over every little tiny detail. Every conversation is winding and confusing. Just like how I am in a lot of my videos, because I am actually undoing the dark hypnosis, and you have to wind and confuse to get you back in a suggestible state so that I can remove these curses. They are actual curses, and people have also this Hollywood image of what actual curses are, what actual hypnosis is. These are curses. When you don't know how this conversation is winding, but every time you end up feeling so down about yourself, and then you end up digging your own grave over and over in tiny ways. And it's like you just don't feel safe or comfortable in your own skin, in every single little action you make. It's like you're not supposed to be doing it, but you have to. It's like something has hijacked your brain. That is dark hypnosis. And having this person in the back of your mind all the time. And no one would believe. You show them the confusing, winding conversation, and you know that they're saying this stuff with malicious intent, and yet nobody believes you because it's just completely, it's so out there to think, what do they gain by doing this? They can't see the end game. They can't see how it benefits the dominator themselves. And they can't imagine that someone would be spending so much time in these tiny little covert details to just mess with you, right? It seems like a schizo conspiracy theory type thing that these people would even exist living this way, and people can't relate to it. It's like the same thing if someone starts talking about their abusive parents. Now, we all know that there are some parents who are very abusive. We've seen headlines of little baby toddlers being maliciously murdered by their parents. People can accept that such parents exist, and yet if you go a little bit farther from the extreme of this sort of spectrum of sadism, someone who doesn't murder their child but crushes their spirit, and does it in a way that doesn't leave physical marks on their body, in ways that really can't be proven easily, right? Gaslighting, like we're talking about here. You try to convince normal people, or you just casually mention the victims of abusive parents who are more covert about it, and people will they'll connect to the minds of the dominators and then reflect back the dominators' abuse to them. It's really hard to explain this, but so for example, someone will write some poetry about how now that they've been away from their dominator mother, abusive mother, for years, and they've become a mother themselves, and they have a great relationship with their children, a peaceful home, and they realize, I was never the problem. It was my parents who were the problem. If you post something like that on the internet, you will get so many hate comments from people basically mirroring what the abusive mother would say to them, which is, oh yeah, everyone thinks they're not the problem. It's always the mother's fault, this and that, just nasty things of basically saying you're not mature. You are the problem. You were always the problem. You were a problem as a kid and you still haven't grown up, and you got your mind filled with nonsense. You're a narcissist, you're a psychopath, this sort of thing. Um and some of them are dominators themselves and they just like to troll on the internet, and some of this just comes from people who haven't been targeted like this before. uh just they can't relate. They cannot fathom. I mean, especially people who grew up with normal parents who weren't sadistically gaslighting them constantly from a very young age. They cannot fathom that that's something that actually exists. They just think, my mom was nice to me, so, and I was a bratty kid, and you're a bratty kid. Uh, if you think it doesn't make sense though. I mean, they grown adults should be able to understand that in a world where there are parents who literally kill innocent babies, and smother them to death, and there's men who kill their own wives. There's a spectrum of sadism here, and some people don't go to the level of murder, but some people, they really just love to destroy a person. They love having an innocent child in their care and just destroying their soul, and they feed on it. It's sadism. They do it just for the love of the game. They'll even destroy their own lives in the process because this is what they actually live for. And there's a spectrum of it. It's not just all parents are good parents except for parents who straight up murder their kids or brutally beat them an inch to death, right? There is a spectrum, and some of them specialize in psychological torture that doesn't leave any physical scars. And you can be well fed, well clothed, well housed, go to the best schools, all of that, and still be a victim of this kind of psychological torture, right? And people think no mother would do that, no father would do that. They would say no boss would even do that. But the thing is, this is this is a phenomenon that exists. It's called a double bind. When someone who has authority over you gives you conflicting orders, do this, but also don't do this, same thing. And then, so it's like, no matter what, damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? And it's just this constant thing. It never ends. But from an outside perspective, you're already exhausted by the abuse itself, and to explain all the little meticulous contextual things so that people understand that you're just being messed with and gaslit the whole time, it's just not possible. And in the process of you doing this, everyone involved in this conversation is connecting to these energy vampires, and when they connect to them, their brain literally gets hijacked by them to reflect the dominator's will, which is why you really can't discuss this with people. And the thing is, it's like, why would God, if God exists, if God is good, why would God allow this to happen? And I can't tell you that, but however, I can tell you about a mechanism that is brought out by this whole phenomenon, which is that because you cannot go to anyone for help, for validation, for true emotional validation when you encounter these gaslighty dominated people, it's forcing you to disconnect from them by your own power. So it does become an empowering thing. And so it'll be like if there were no dominators, no energy, no evil, sadistic people, we would have no reason basically to connect with the divine. And once you do depend on the divine to cut you off energetically from these evil dominator people, the more you do that, the less you seek validation in other people for what you're experiencing. And the more you're cut off from the dominators, the more you're in a mind space to say things in a way that people actually will offer you their support. Instead of trying to get caught up in all these little details that the dominator confuses you with, you can just go to your friend and say, my boss is such a jerk. I just was bullied by my boss all day. And they'll be like, oh, what happened? And you'll be like, I don't even want to get into it. Just give me a hug and let's play some video games. Yeah, she is such a bitch. I can't deal with it. And then they'll actually believe you and they'll sincerely support you because you think it's so sad and so empty, this world that dominators control, and I can't even have someone validate the specific details of what happened to me. And that is true, but at the same time, the more you connect with the divine that is with you unconsciously, that is what makes your eyes blink, what makes your heart beat, what decides the rhythm of your breathing, what's always with you and filling you with this vital energy. Once you connect to that more and more through necessity of being psychically attacked, because the only actual healing that you ever get, even if it's through other people, is the divine speaking through them. But if you are attacked very severely, targeted very severely, you really will be left with no other choice than going directly to the divine to help you with that. And when you find the path there, and when you stay there, then you will things will seem empty and weird at first and kind of like something's missing. This expectation of worldwide brotherly togetherness that you think God in your life will bring about, this ecstasy, this peace, it'll be missing, right? The key to all, the answer to all things, like what you think Jesus would do if he's around here, like in real life, making things happen. It'll be like missing, but then you will realize that, like, and it'll be boring when you're not obsessing over the gaslighter anymore and not raging, and the resentment kind of fades away uneventfully. It'll be a missing, something's missing. And then in this empty peace, eventually things start getting interesting and fun. And before you know it, you're just going to start taking everything less seriously. Gonna start taking the words of your friends less seriously and the words of the dominators less seriously. And they'll either just fade away from your life, you're gonna just stop attracting them, or like when you do encounter them, they're just completely powerless too. And this is the effect that watching this video all the way through will bring about for you. It won't be completely immediate, but you might be feeling more sleepy, needing more sleep than usual after watching this video, and you might have some intense dreams, you might have some night terror kind of things, and you kind of have this weird empty feeling, and before you know it, the same dominators, that gaslighter type people who were messing your life up so much, they'll just do like a 180 and be servile. Even it's very strange. But instead of being like super pleased by it, or falling for it, I mean, it is a trap in itself when they do that, but only if you forget that these people, they're not human in the same way that you are. They're really not. And when you can fully accept that they are just basically demonic entities sent to help us connect with God, then, you know, and you can get over the, that's dehumanizing language and blah, blah, blah. You are going to, it is dehumanizing language. And then they put in the suggestion that just because we're dehumanizing this group of people, that we are going to turn into monsters. When it's quite the opposite. When you consider them human, it's like this puzzle that you can never solve, of like, why are they doing this to me? Why can I not, like, you're trying to solve the conflict on terms that aren't like real, and you're continuing to connect to them. And the more you connect to them, the more you mimic their brain, and the more you do self-destructive, and self-destructive is the same as destroying everyone around you too. So it's just destructive behavior. They force you to sin so that they can punish you for sinning, so that they can play God. This whole thing is about them fully believing that they are the only God and there is no other God outside of them, and they are a jealous God. And they target specific people based on their ability to connect to the real God, because they're the most threatened by those people. Now, this video will make it so that you can connect to the real God more easily. And I know it seems like such a scam when people say, hey, I'll give you the secrets of how you can connect to God for real. It's like some Jim Jones, or what's that, Jeffrey Warren or whatever. It sounds like something someone would say if he wants to start a harem of 15-year-old virgins. But, or, run any, I guess, because I'm a girl, I don't know the equivalent of that. But, fleece a bunch of guys for their money, I guess. But that is because of, there's so many gaslighting dominators using spiritual stuff to establish their control. So anyway, this video is, magical hypnosis to make it so that you connect with the divine more easily. You can disconnect from the dominators and just live peacefully. And that's all anyone ever wants to do. But the dominators try to make it, my point before was, the dominators try to make you believe that if you accept the truth about them, that they're basically not human, in the same way that you're human, that you're gonna start doing horrible things, committing crazy crimes, when it's really the opposite. People who are not dominators but are brain hijacked by them, those are the ones who become abusive to everyone around them, and it can escalate to the point of very serious violent crimes. Because, dominators will commit those crimes themselves sometimes. They don't have to. Dominators can appear in any way, like manifesting. What they're doing is over the astral plane. But the people who are mind hijacked by the dominators, they get triggered by these curses, basically. And in order to cope with it, they will do these extreme violent acts to basically self-soothe from the pain of what the dominators are doing in their mind. And I know it sounds like crazy schizobabble. I will say that, this is for entertainment purposes only. This is schizobabble. It's just a narrative to cause a placebo effect so that people who are freaking out over interpersonal conflict will, uh, you know, just self soothe and meditate and then be able to face their problems better, blah, blah, blah. But those of you who know, that this is real. And yeah, after watching this video, you will stop being attacked by them. There might be for some of you, sometimes it happens that they up the attacks temporarily, but if you can just fight through that, it means you're just right on the precipice of really cutting off from them. So just hold on tight. If you hold on tight and you keep connecting to the divine, then eventually the dominators will even work for you, actually. And you'll be like, isn't it kind of, I can't think of the word, zurui. Zurui in Japanese. Isn't it kind of cheap or kind of tricky? I don't know. Zurui. There's not a good word for zurui in English. Isn't it kind of like I'm getting away with murder if I conquer this to the point that even the evil soulless dominators are working to my advantage? You'll get this feeling like you're cheating at like the game of life. But you'll recognize even that in itself is another negative self-destructive suggestion of the dominators that try to implant in your mind that you are sinful and that deserving of their punishment. And you have to consent to them punishing you, actually. As a little child, you can't consent, really, but they'll do it to you anyway. But as an adult, you consent by allowing them in. And so it's easy to revoke the consent, but it does require dehumanization of them. So let's just do that. And people don't like that. Even people who consider themselves anti-woke will come at you saying you can't just dehumanize this person who has been trying to destroy your psyche with these dark hypnotic curses. But that's why you have a God in your heart, and that you can always connect. And when you're asleep is when you can, in the Bible they have people sleeping and getting messages from God, and it's just that in this unconscious state is where you can really directly connect to the divine. Yeah, I probably should make shorter videos about this, but I really wanted to be thorough in this one. I'll make a shorter one that's more like you can just go to again and again to keep this top of mind whenever it slips away, whenever you find yourself getting mind dominated by someone. Yeah, I'll make a video for that, actually. So anyway, but this video should be very, very, very potent. And, I'm kind of warning you right now that you might need extra sleep. If you're feeling more sleepy lately, let yourself sleep. It is how magic works. Okay. Thank you for watching, and have a nice night.